and they're gonna be your mic.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Check 1 2 1 2.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Check.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Check. All right.
Check 1 2. Check mic 2. Check 1 2 1 2. All right. One, 2, 3. Yo, what's poppin'? It's your boy Ace Torn.
Yes, sir. You know what time it is, man. I am the voice of the South. Q Smitty with Polar Johnson giving you that cool rush, man. Today we talking about flipping bricks. What type of bricks?
Man, we finna get into it. Man, we got the legendary. Before I introduce this man, y'all gotta understand what we finna get ready to do, man. You know, the information we finna get ready to give out. Check. Hold on. Right back. Sound like I'm echoing a little bit.
So you echo it.
Just a little bit. You don't hear it? Okay, maybe it's just me then. Check. Okay. How about yours? How it sound?
It sounds good.
Sound good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
3, 2, 1. Yo, what's poppin'? It's your boy Ace Torn.
Yes, sir. You know what time it is. I am the voice of the South. Q Smitty with Polar Johnson giving you that cool rush, man. We got a special guest in the building talking about flipping bricks today.
Yup, man, we talking about them bricks, but we ain't talking about your kind of bricks. We're talking about legendary bricks, man. So which I must understand what's going on right now, man. We got a legend in the building, living legend in the building. This man has helped me. I want to say millions of people. I know thousands for sure, but definitely millions of people, man, change their lives, change their family lives, their personal lives. You know what I'm saying? People around them by doing this, all from not having a dollar in your pocket or having a couple of dollars in your pocket. I'm on the rise now with the situation, what we finna get ready to get into. So this is not a game. This is a true story, you know, real life, a real business that can change your life as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you, Tyrone Taylor, aka Flip Man.
What's happening, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So what's going on, Ty, man? How you feeling?
Oh, nothing. I was looking for the girls, man.
They coming.
They coming, man.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Glad to make the connect. You know what I'm saying? I really like the first time I've done it a couple more times, but this is the first time I've done it in Birmingham. So.
Okay, good to have you, man. So you're actually from Birmingham, right?
Well, no, I'm not from Birmingham. But if someone has been in a place for almost 32 years, does that make them from there?
Yeah, you might as well.
So all of my adult life, but I grew up in a town 3 hours southwest of here, less than 1,000 people. The name of the town is Millry, Millry.
Okay.
It's in Washington County. Try to describe it to you. You have Mobile County. The county that sits directly on top of Mobile County is Washington County. So,
Right.
And that borders Mississippi. So, you know, that's where I'm from until I was basically 18 years old. And, you know, I went to school down in the Baby Net area for a couple of years and then came here to Birmingham in 1990 to go to UAB and graduated there in 95. So, you know, been there ever since.
Now, man, the biggest question that everybody would love to hear and want to hear: what is real estate wholesaling?
Well, wholesaling real estate. Most people when they think about real estate, in the sense that if you're going to be an investor, you have to have a lot of money. And you know, I thought the same thing before I was fortunate enough to be introduced to it. You know, really by accident. Back in 2003, I was 32 years old at the time. So, but what is wholesaling real estate? So, all real estate transactions start with a contract, and like I said, most people think you have to have either the cash and or credit to purchase a piece of real estate, whether it's going to be something you're going to live in, or if it's going to be something that you are going to be an investor with. So they all start with a contract in most cases. A purchase and sales agreement is what is termed. Now, that is only an agreement to initiate the actual sale of the property between you and an owner, between a buyer and an owner. And so once that contract is signed, you don't own it, but you do have some interest in the property, as they would say. And that can give you some power if it's a great deal, in the world of wholesaling. So just to try to even simplify it for you even more, if you find a piece of real estate, just to run some numbers for you, don't get caught up in the price of the houses because it's different in different markets or whatever, but so easy math so I can, spit it out to you.
Right.
But if a house that you located, and if it was fixed up, it was renovated, rehabbed, it would be worth $100,000. And for whatever reason, that seller, the person that owns that property, is willing to sell it to you for, we'll just say $30,000, and it may need a few repairs or whatever. So once you have that property under contract, we'll just put a number on the repairs of $20,000. You now have something of value that a lot of investors that do have the cash to purchase will purchase from you. And so, but they really not purchasing it from you because you don't own it,
Right.
or whatever. But what you do, you're in the middle and you're in the way of them purchasing that property. So what they'll do is that they'll pay you a fee to get out of the way, right? So the actual term for it is an assignment fee.
Right.
So you basically will assign your rights to that deal over to them for a fee. So what can that fee be? That fee can be anywhere. It could be 4 figures, 5 figures, 6 figures. There's no limit on it. Now, it sounds like you're doing the same thing that a real estate agent would do, but you're not. Well, you are in the sense that you're putting a seller and a buyer together, but the difference in you and a real estate agent only is acting as a representative for a seller or a buyer. You've actually injected yourself into the deal once you put a purchase and sales agreement on the property. Agents don't do that. They have a listing agreement, and that's why they're required to have a license to do it, versus if they put a contract on the property, now that gives them a principal interest in that deal that has some value, assuming someone wants to buy them out of the deal. And so it doesn't matter if it's houses, it can be apartment buildings, it can be self-storage, it can be a shopping center, it can be whatever. It happens on all levels. So as I was saying, 4 figures, 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures is possible. If I can get the Empire State Bill, we'll just say it's worth $1 billion. If I can get it on the contract for $500 million, I can wholesale it in 10 days and probably make 100. But there's a lot of land on that. But I'm just telling you how extreme. Yeah, just for real though.
Now, do realtors get mad at wholesalers for doing that? Because wholesalers ain't got no license, so they really.
Well, yeah, but they should, and some agents get it, but most agents don't, right?
Yeah.
That wholesalers could be their best asset as for them making money, because it could be a volume play. Like a lot of times, of course, an agent. Let me explain how agents make their money. Some people might not know that. So a real estate agents make their money off commission. So in a commission-based job or opportunity or whatever, the more the property sells for, whatever product or service it sells for, normally the more money you make. Now, so for us as wholesalers, the cheaper we get the property for, the more money we make. So from the beginning, it's a natural resistance, but it could be a beautiful situation. I'll give you an example. Using that $100,000 again, agents normally get paid 5-6%. It's all negotiable. They're accustomed to getting paid around 6%, especially on a house that's only $100,000.
Right.
And so, so 6% of $100,000 will be $6,000 commission for them. But in most cases, when an agent lists the property for a seller, it's rare that they find a buyer for it also. They normally have to depend on another real estate agent, they call it a buyer's agent, to bring the buyer to the table. With that being said, so now they have to split that 6%. So that 6% now that 6,000 goes down to 3,000. Okay, so all right, all right, yeah, and they have to split that with a broker if they're not a broker themselves. So but just keep it simple. So let's flip that. So what if you as a wholesaler only if you needed that deal to work at 60,000, right? But you went directly to the listing agent and you didn't bring an agent to the table. They call that double dipping. So now in most states, some states don't allow it, but that agent can represent you and the seller, and they can keep the entire 6%. So 6% on 60,000 is 3,600. Whereas if they had to split on 100,000 with another agent, even though it was 6%, but they would only get paid 3% on 100,000, that would be 3,000. So there's a $600 difference, even though there was a $40,000 discount on the property. Most agents don't get that.
So Flip, man, I want to talk about that because, you know, it sounds like foreign language for someone on the outside looking in.
Yeah, well,
But,
that's good.
To the common man, I would say when it comes to wholesale, why is it important to wholesale? Well, I know finances, you know, when it comes to the financial side of it, you know, it's very beneficial, but what's the whole purpose of wholesaling?
Well, number one, to make money, but it also is a gateway to get involved in real estate. Like, even if you have a significant amount of cash or the credit, in my opinion, you know, people do it and make money and start from, you know, all types of levels. But what it does do, if nothing else, is teach you how to find great real estate deals. You won't ever lose that. Because if I say this all the time, if you can consistently find great real estate deals, you don't ever have to be broke. Wholesaling teaches you that.
Right.
Because a lot of people think the first thing you want to do is a fix and flip because that's what you see on TV. But if you just look on the ROI on wholesaling versus fixing and flipping, it's not even close. Example, would you rather? Okay, let's do that. Okay, so would you rather be able to spend $100 and make 10,000, or spend 70,000 to make 30,000?
Oh, I would rather spend $100.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So because let's just assume in order to do that 10 times, I just would need $1,000. But in order to do that on that fix and flip, if everything was equal and I had to spend 70,000 each time, I would need 700,000. You see what I'm saying? Right. So the ROI, I don't know the math off the top of my head, but it's like in the thousands. Whereas the ROI on you spend 70, make 30, is probably maybe 30 or 40%. I don't know the math just off the top of my head. You can't compare probably, I don't know, I think it's like 1,900% ROI, return on investment, meaning how much money you spend, how much you get, and that you know, that's just basic finances.
Right.
If I can spend this amount of money and bring it back, and you can continuously repeat it, it's just a no-brainer. Because it's lower risk. Low risk, high reward. You know, that's wholesaling at its finest, just low risk, high reward. Some of the stories, just personally, but I like to try to put stuff on my channel, on my YouTube channel, of other people besides myself, explaining how they did it. Now, this is going to sound ridiculous, and anyone can go there and look at the video, but one of the more recent videos I did, a lady in the D.C. area, she made $285,000 on a wholesale deal.
On one deal?
On one deal with $100 earnest money deposit. That you get back.
So all of that goes to her?
All that goes to her. $285,000.
Wow.
And how she make that?
Well,
It
was you know, but you see, in markets like D.C., L.A., the Bay Area, Seattle, New York City, of course, maybe some parts of South Florida, I'm not gonna say that's common, but it can happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, but their normal paydays in those markets, where in Birmingham, you know, between maybe 7 to 12,000 may be normal. Theirs may be 30 to 50,000 is normal, because the prices of houses are more or whatever. So like when I'm explaining this sometimes on some of my other stuff, and people say, well, we don't have houses here that are $100,000. Okay, that's fine. You know what that means? Yeah. You're just gonna make more money than me.
Right.
You do the exact same thing, because people still die in LA. They still get divorced. They still lose their jobs. They still are tired landlords there. People still have medical bills, relocation, life. You know what I'm saying? Life, all that stuff happens, and that creates motivated sellers.
Right.
Your job as a wholesaler is to make sure you do a great job of letting them know you exist.
Yes, right.
And that's where the marketing and advertising comes into play, generating leads.
And I think you probably just answered the question I was just going to ask you. like for people that been in wholesaling for a long period of time, and they say that now it's kind of washed up, and they say that make money in it anymore. What could you tell? What could you say about it?
Well, I just said you just yeah, like I just said. Did people stop dying?
No.
No.
Did people stop getting divorced?
So
Did people stop losing their jobs?
not at all.
You think it's some tired landlords out there after COVID?
Oh yeah.
Hell
Yes, sir.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Life, man. Unless they make houses free, wholesaling will exist.
Right.
Even if they change the laws, that's fine. That run all the people that's scared away anyway. I want them to change them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's still gonna be a way legally to do it.
So the origins of this, man. How did you get
crazy.
into real estate?
Well, okay. All right, so I like to think I'm an entrepreneur first, right? Back in college. Now, I wasn't one of those kids that set up lemonade stands and all that stuff when I was younger or whatever. I didn't hit the entrepreneur bug, really didn't hit me until in my early 20s. And so one of the first things, I did some stuff before, but one of the first significant things I did, I had the brilliant idea that I should be outside of that window. I won't, so it don't matter. That I was going to take my student loan money and start buying used cars.
That ain't bad though.
And so I'll tell you what the problem with that is.
Bad
And so I don't even know how I figured out how to get a dealer's license. We didn't have the internet back then. That's how old I am. So the internet didn't exist in the early 90s. Well, it existed, but not to the public on a large scale. And so I don't remember how I even found out about it. But anyway, I registered and got a car dealer's license, right? And so I started going to auctions, and there's a couple of them in that Moody Leeds area. And man, it was exciting, those cars out there. There's hundreds of cars and stuff, and all of them look brand new. Okay, how old it was, they made it look brand new. So
would you sell a lot of them?
no, man. Hey, one thing about that business, if you're not mechanically inclined or you know someone that is,
It's over with.
you're gonna get taken to the bank.
Yeah.
There's some serious hustling going on in that game.
That's why they always say, what you talk like a car dealership.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, like a
bad
car
saying.
salesman. Yeah. And so anyway, it didn't last that long or whatever. Some of my friends still mess with me now because I would change cars all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was badly just making it on it. So fast forward to that was probably like 92, 93. So fast forward to 1995, and my brother, two of my cousins, and one of my brother's friends, was my friend also, I guess. We went to Black Beach Weekend in Daytona, right? They still have that?
Yeah, they still
Okay.
have it. My mom actually DJ there. Every
Oh,
year.
really? Okay, yeah. So
Shout out DJ Cuzzo.
that's what's up. So we went down there, and one of my brother's friends met us. He lived in Orlando, and he met us up there in Daytona. And he was talking about he had started this mobile car wash business, and he had made six figures. Hey, that's all I needed to hear. I couldn't wait till I got back to Birmingham. The weekend could have been over. I was sick anyway. I stayed in the hotel pretty much the whole time, but the weekend could have been over for me because I couldn't wait till I got back to Birmingham. And so now you see these dudes doing that around there. So I said that was in 1995 when I was doing it.
Yeah.
And you see dudes doing it, trying to do it now or whatever. And so anyway, so when we got back, student loan money again. And so
So you use it the second time.
yeah.
Back with.
So I bought I was about to graduate too then, but that was like the last quarter. We was on quarters back then. And so I bought a baby blue passenger van. The seats had already been taken out. It was real raggedy and stuff. And I bought a pressure washer and like either a 50 or 100 gallon tank. And we, me and my cousin, we strapped it down in there. We, tied it down in there, the tank for water, and we were in business. So and I bought a sign so whenever we were washing, it would let people know, hey, you can come pull up. So we pull in the parking lot and just start washing. So that was the spring of '95. So it was good and it was real hot that summer. That's cool. We can handle that.
A lot of money.
We country boys, so we can handle that. So October rolled around. And that
wind started hitting.
that first morning I woke up and it was 40-some degrees. I said, "It's the end of this." That water.
Yeah, arthritis kicked in.
Hey, every time I go to a car wash in the winter, man, I say about that, man. I say, boy, that's a tough game there.
Yeah.
You know, it's some great money in that car wash business, but it's a tough game.
You
got to, oof. So that was all with. So basically, after that, man, I just always had ideas in my head. Did some of the network marketing stuff. I think the last thing I was doing before I got into real estate was prepaid legal. I think it's called Legal Shield now. And so one of my friends and his now wife were going to school to become real estate agents. This was in 2002, October of 2002. And the guy that normally taught the class, he wasn't there. So the guy that replaced him, that was substituted for him that night, he didn't talk about being a real estate agent. He talked about being a real estate investor and creative ways of real estate investing with no money, right? And so my friend, knowing how I was in college and stuff, so he mentioned it to me. And so I hadn't heard him, you know, like I said, I'm like most people thought you had to have a lot of money. So I didn't act on it at that time. So fast forward to December 27th of that same year, a couple of days after Christmas, I was at home, you know, and up early, waiting on my mom to prepare some breakfast, and I was watching TV. So, how old are you guys?
I'm 31.
29.
Okay, so you all know who Carlton Sheets is?
I have no idea.
Okay, all right. So Carlton Sheets was a guru, and he used to be on Saturday morning the infomercials. And so back then, like, you know, they would come on one channel, and then they'd be on another channel, and then another channel. So I hadn't seen him over the years, but you know, you're like, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So people would be on that testimony. Hey, Carlton helped me make this money. Carlton helped me make this money. So I caught it about halfway through the show, and so I said, you know what? I thought about what my boy told me. I said, I found it up the dial and watched it from beginning to end. Even though I hadn't seen it over the years, I really paid attention. But it really didn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
But because, you know, Carlton helped you make that money, but how did he help you make the money? So it's an infomercial. They want you to spend the money, yeah. So, but at the end of it, I thought to myself, he can't be lying about all of this.
Right.
Right. And so.
If that many people.
Yeah. So, my mom didn't have internet back then. So when I got back to Birmingham, I went to this message board I used to frequent and asked a question. Online entrepreneur message board, and I asked a question and said, does Carlton Sheets program really work? And only one person replied. He said, yes, it does work, but Ron LeGrand's course is better. And so I Googled, I don't know if it was Google or Yahoo back then, but I searched for it and found his website, and his course was $1,500. And at that time, I was working at Bell South, which was decent money, you know what I'm saying, in the 40s or whatever. So, but it still was a lot of money to have it, you know what I'm saying? So,
not at one time.
No. Yeah, so they had a condensed version of it for $69.99.
Right.
It was shipping $80. And right, so I ordered that. It was in cassette tape form. That's all it was. And Ron, he still wasn't telling you nothing, but he was telling you enough to tease you. And he's really good at teaching, and you know, he keeps your attention.
Right.
And so I was sold. So if I had to get another job, second job, to save that $1,500, I was going to do it. So I thought about eBay a couple of days later, and I searched for his name there, and boom, his course was there in auction. And so I bid it on the auction and lost it. And back then, if you lost an auction, the seller could reach out to you by email. And so my man, he asked me, did I want a bootleg copy of it?
Yeah.
And so he and I agreed on $400.
Yeah.
Right, which still was a sacrifice. Some didn't get paid. I don't know what it was. Some didn't get paid that month.
Yeah.
Or maybe a couple of things. So, but that's the best $400 I've ever spent.
And he gave you the whole blueprint.
He mailed it to me. It was in CD. It was in CD format, and I went from I'm talking about absolutely knowing zero about real estate, from learning about wholesaling, lease options, subject to, fix and flip, owner financing, just
all that from that one tape?
all that from that one package of courses, man. So if I wasn't at work And the little time I was maybe spending with the chick I was dating at the time, I was listening to that information, right? So it took me about 3 weeks before I was comfortable to make a move. And so the Walmart on John Hawkins Parkway over in Hoover had just opened, and it was a sign shop that opened in the front of it, or whatever. And I went there and ordered the bandit sign, you know, the We Buy Houses signs you see on the street. I ordered 50 of those, paid $250 for them. No, something else didn't get paid.
Yeah.
And I picked them up on a Friday, put them out on a Sunday. And this is not going to be everybody's story. Matter of fact, most people's story won't be this. The very first 2 calls I received were deals.
The first two.
Wow.
First 2 calls. The one of them was a lease option opportunity, and the other one was a wholesale deal. Now the lease option opportunity blew up in my face, right? And even though I had already got the money, well, you know, the upfront money, and the way lease options work is basically you lease a property from somebody. You basically lease it, rent to own, with an option to lease it back out. And so basically you'll pay them the monthly payment out of the money that someone else is going to pay you, plus the difference you'll charge more to get a cash flow. But you also up front charge them a down payment. And that down payment was $5,000.
Ain't that pretty difficult though?
What, the lease option?
Yeah.
Actually, those are easier to get into than wholesaling.
Oh yeah.
It's just a little bit more riskier. Now you can set it up and wholesale out the terms to somebody else and you're out of it, but you know, because now you're responsible, if you're gonna do the right thing, you're responsible to that person if that person stops paying. You see what I'm saying? But you'll get those opportunities actually faster or whatever. So it's just a little more riskier.
Because that person can start paying, then it's left on you.
Yeah, so the way that blew up in my face is that the dude, his mom died, and the house had a mortgage on it, and but he didn't live there, so the house he lived in, he had a mortgage on it. So he couldn't afford to pay both of them. And so he saw one of my bandit signs, and so he called me. I explained to him how it works and how I was going to make my money. So I advertised in the newspaper when that was still relevant, and this lady called me. She was a nurse. We met at the old Charlie's, where it's not there anymore, on I think it's Roebuck Parkway, Center Point Parkway, whatever it's called, up there on the hill. I think it's a Mexican restaurant run up there now. And she put $50 $100 bills in my hand, $5,000, right? And so, man, I was like, wow, this stuff works. You know, I could have stopped then because I had failed at so many other things or whatever. And so I was still working at Bell South at the time. So so I was trying to create a win-win because the house still needed some repairs, but she could live in it, but she wanted to get some things done before she moved into it. And the owner mentioned to me through our conversations that he was a handyman. He could do stuff. So I just thought he knew about the house. She could hire him to do the work or whatever. On top of that, a guy that worked with me was a mortgage broker, and the owner mentioned that he would like to refinance his house. So I thought I would just create win-wins all over the place. So my friend that worked with me told him that I had found somebody for the house, and the lady had already gave me $5,000. What did he tell him that for?
He messed up the whole operation.
He messed up the whole deal. But it's good it's happened that early, because when he met her over there to discuss the repairs, he came over there in a rage, told her to get off his property. Tyrone does not own this, and he was going to call the police. So of course, what she thought she had been scammed. Right. So she called me crying and explained what happened. I said, where are you right now? Right, like that. And so I said, I'll bring you your money, or what I had already spent about $700 of. But so I took all the money. Right. And so I called him because I wanted to see what happened, and he and I got in a big, huge argument or whatever. And my boy, I didn't know this, not that it matters, but that he was a preacher, right? And so me and him going back and forth, we were cussing each other out, man. And so I said, I don't know what church you're over, but I feel sorry for your congregation. Oh man! And I hit him low. His last comment. He probably talked up. His last thing.
Come to you right now. No other house.
He went back to the street. Man. He probably
he did. He told me, if I ever see you again, it won't be pretty. Yeah. That was the last thing we said to each other. So that blew up in my face. So anyway, so the second deal was 2 sisters. Like a lot of people, their mom died we're not going to sell mama's house. After 4 or 5 years of letting cousins and people, relatives rent the property, not paying them, tearing it up, fixing it, tearing it up, you're not getting payments, they retired landlords.
Basically, probate part.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they had already straightened all that out. So they were good because they had owned it for 4 or 5 years. So, so at that point, they called me. We negotiated a deal. And long story short, this realtor, I advertised it in I put it in the contract. I advertised it in the newspaper. This realtor called me, and I told him the whole deal or whatever. And he was like, well, because I had it in the contract for $20,000. And I advertised it at $25,000. He said, well, I have a buyer for it, but I'm gonna need half of that half of that $5,000. And I was like, okay, or whatever. So 10 days later, but after I met them, like a day or two after, we signed the contract. 10 days later, we closed, and that was my first deal, $2,500. So that was in March of 2003. I know it's a long, drawn-out story, but
No, that's
I need to hear
perfect.
those.
We need to hear that.
Yeah.
And people need to hear that.
yeah.
So what makes a good deal?
What makes a good deal, right? People go about it different ways, but for newbies, you know, and sometimes they dispute what they call the Mayo formula and maximum allowable offer. But okay, so you have to get in the mind of how the investor is going to make their money, right?
Yeah.
So then you have to backdoor it from there to figure out how you're going to make your money, right? So you have to know what can it be worth once it's fixed up, similar to what I explained a moment ago. So we'll use $100,000 again. So you take $100,000 times 70% minus the repairs, minus what you think you want to make, and that's your number with the seller, right? So let me break.
The seller should sell it. To.
Yeah, that's what we need to be with the seller,
Okay.
right? So I'll break that down for you. So why the 70%? Well, the 70% really represents a 30% discount on what we call the ARV, the after repair value. That's what will the house appraise for in excellent condition. So because we have to know how is the investor going to make their money, so we have to know how much they can sell it for, possibly sell it for. So the 30% represents the investor's potential profit and holding costs, right? The profit, 20 to 25% of that 30%, or 5 to 10% holding costs. Holding costs could be things like paying the utilities, keeping the lawn care up, stuff like that. So, and closing costs. So, using that formula, so we'll say 100,000 times 70%, that's 70,000. We'll say the repairs are 30,000. So now we're down at 40,000. You say you want to make 10,000 on that. So now we're down at we're down to 30,000 now. So you need to get it under contract with the seller for 30 or less to make it work. Now those are generalizations. Sometimes you won't know this until your market, you actually get out here and do it, because some markets you have to get it even cheaper than that, and some parts of your market you may have to get it cheaper than that. Now, you're out in Southern California, like I said, in New York City or the Bay Area, Seattle, a few, DC, in that general DMV area. What else? South Florida.
Yeah.
Then 75-80% may work because the price of real estate appreciates a little faster than the other parts of the country. Now, again, that's a generalization, because people are disputed, but for someone brand new, they have to have something to go by. You know what I'm saying? Because you won't be able to recognize an opportunity when you see it. Yeah. But that's the simple way. And I have one of my websites is dealulator.com. It's the play on the word calculator, DEALULATOR. I have a free calculator there for plugging in numbers on your deals or whatever. So
the repair costs, do you come out of your pocket for the repair costs?
Oh,
or
no.
Do you deal with somebody?
No, you don't touch them. That's the
Okay.
great thing about it. You don't touch it or whatever. You get so good not all the time, but you just drive by the house, and depending on the area, you just need to see it standing. Or whatever, if it gets cheap enough. But to determine, you have to have an idea what the repairs are, though.
Right.
And for a long time, I didn't really know how to explain it to people. And I saw this guy on YouTube, and he broke it down simple. And again, this is a generalization because you have to have something to go by. One thing you have to understand about repairs, you can send 3 contractors out to a house and all give them the same sheet on what you want to done. They're going to come back with 3 different numbers, guaranteed. And they may be wide apart. They may be far apart on the numbers. So you just need a generalization. So a simple thing you can do, and I have a repair calculator on that same website, is go to if the house is livable, You can multiply it times the square footage, or you can multiply $25 times the square footage of the house, the actual living area. If it's not livable, $40. Again, that's a generalization. When doing houses in Midfield versus renovating a house in Mountain Brook, the countertops are going to cost different.
Way different.
You know what I'm saying? So you could take that in consideration once it's that far apart. But more the average homes, those numbers normally will work or whatever. So
Now, if you got a person that just started out, they just started out, they hungry and they ready to take off and take action, what's the first place they should find leads at?
The first place they should find leads at. So I guess the question would be, do they have any money to put into it, a few $100s, or they got zero?
They got $200 in their check.
Okay, $200. Okay, they got 200. That's a good number. Okay, so there are tools out there. I'm affiliated, a reseller of a couple of them. But one of the tools, if you text MLS to 205-964-5243, you'll see a video explaining this tool I'm about to talk about. But it's called Privy, Privy.com. I think it's called getprivy.com. But anyway, so that particular website, it's $97 a month. And what it does is that it allows you to search for properties nationwide that are listed with real estate agents. Now, for a long time, I advise newbies to avoid those, right? Because dealing with real estate agents is another level, and if you're not really sure what you're doing, they can frustrate you right out of the game because of the guidelines that agents want you to follow for them to even take you serious. They're going to normally want at least $1,000 in earnest money deposit, and what an earnest money deposit is basically a deposit that's saying, hey, I'm serious about this. Now, there's no law it has to be that. That's just what they want or whatever. And then they want you to have proof of funds, meaning you can pay for it, whether it's through a bank or a lender has approved you for a certain amount that you can buy, or your actual money. Now, with the proof of funds, there are services out there. I'm affiliated with one that would help you with that. But as far as the earnest money deposit, then now
That can get rough.
Yeah, they can get rough, because $1,000, it can be, challenging for someone to come up with, to put up. Now, and so that's where it becomes very important to know what you're doing if you're going to deal on that side of it. So let's flip it in another way then, and forget about that side of it. Now, even though you have $200, you can buy. Well, that wouldn't be enough for that. So $200 would probably just be gas money to drive around.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For driving for dollars.
And
right?
speaking for driving for dollars,
Yeah.
okay, so what if they see, okay, I ain't got no money for a system, I don't have no money.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go into.
Okay.
All right, so $200 basically like no money in reality.
Right.
All right, so
Gas
if
money.
you had 400, we could talk different, but 200 is sort of just gas money, and the prices they are now, even though they come down, it's still high or whatever. So if the $100 spending on Privy would probably be a better option or whatever, and we would work with you on that. But all right, so assume you had no money. All right, so what you'll do now, you're going to use the power of the internet. Right, that's free. Most people are there. You're watching this, you got the internet, right? And so now you're going to use social media on top of that. So what you'll do is that you're going to network your butt off to try to network with some actual investors / cash buyers to see what they want. And you want to try to build your list. It won't take many, 4 or 5. In a particular market would be enough if they real players in that market.
Right.
And so what information do you need from them? Obviously you need their contact information. You want to know what areas they buy in. That normally will determine the price range, but you can go ahead and ask them. You want to know what's the level of repairs they like to deal with. Some of them will take anything on from a burnout to up and above. Some of them really only want stuff that's livable and just cosmetic. The minimum, if I didn't say minimum number of beds and bath, you also want to know how many do they buy per month. All right, and now that's pretty much it. So that'll slowly build your buyers list. So once you have that, now you have other wholesalers advertising their properties all the time.
Right.
And a lot of wholesalers still don't know what they're doing, but they may actually have a deal or whatever. So now it's your time, your opportunity to partner with them to actually see if they are interested in you bringing a buyer to the table. You say, well, how do you get paid then? So now you and that wholesaler have to agree on one or two things. Either you all are going to split it 50-50, meaning that you're going to get it at the price that they have it with the seller has it at, or they give you a price and whatever you make above that you keep, right? So you and the wholesaler have to make that actual decision.
Now, if you partner with another wholesaler, don't you got to know all the numbers, like how much he's selling it for? Or
Well, yeah, you still got to run your numbers. It's always going to boil down to that.
Gotcha.
Now, another thing you could do, all right, you still have this buyer's list. You could target properties that are for rent, right? And you can do all of that online. It's a grind. I ain't saying it's easy, but it's a grind, but it's free. So, and the reason you target those is, okay, so like on Zillow, if you go into any decent sized city or market and just do a search for rent properties and houses and maybe uncheck the condos, townhouses and apartments, and you'll pull up, properties that are for rent. And so if you scroll down, now a lot of people probably do this on their phone, you want to look for where it says listed by. And so under that, you'll see listed by property manager or listed by realtor or listed by owner. You want to target the ones that are listed by owner. All right. And the reason you want to do that because you're dealing directly with the decision maker. There's no one in the middle and their bills mixed in the decision being made or being influenced, right? Such as the property manager or a realtor, right? So when you're reaching out to them, you basically say, hey, I'm calling about your property at 123 Main Street. Is it still available? Whether they say yes or no really is irrelevant. So when whatever answer they give you, say, well, I'm not calling about renting the property. I'm actually calling about buying the property. Would you be interested in selling it? Okay, if they say yes, then you want to collect the information needed to evaluate the property. Now, you may already know the bedrooms and baths from the ad that they have online. You may can see even photos of the condition of it. So you're going to have a lot of the questions already answered because it's right there in your face. But you want to get to, even though you called them, why would you consider selling the property? Like some backstory, why would you consider selling this investment property? You're going to get all kind of answers, but hopefully you're trying to pull out what's their real motivation by having that conversation. All right, so once you go through that, then you ask them the magic question: paying all cash and closing quickly. What's the least amount you'll accept for it as is? Now, sometimes they're not going to give you that amount or whatever, so you might have to do your due diligence and come back to them to make an offer. But if they do give you a price and it works for you, then boom, you go to the next step and put it on the contract, find a buyer for it. But if they give you a price that does not work for you, there's still a possible opportunity there to ask them what they can, well, that price really doesn't work for us on a cash transaction. Would you be open to some terms? And what you're asking them is would they be interested in acting as the bank? Meaning it's called owner financing, where now you pay them directly without a bank or anybody being involved in that particular transaction. So now what's in it for them is they can still receive cash flow because that's what they're used to. That's why they were trying to rent the property. But it removes the landlording side of it, but they can still receive cash flow. They call it mailbox money. So they would possibly be open to that. Now, that's a great way to, number one, to find a deal and actually have a possible property that you can rent out. But it's also an opportunity, if you don't like that property, you can set up those terms and still wholesale out the deal because you set up some favorable terms or whatever. So it's still maybe not. So that's how you could do it with no money, right? It's starting out, those couple of ways of doing it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Wow, that's a lot of game right
That's
there.
a lot of game, a lot of free game, free 99,
Yeah,
man.
free 99, man.
Definitely.
Do you have a program where people can, come and shop with you under your team?
Well, yeah, you know what, man? I don't really promote anything I'm selling. It'll just organically happen through all the free content that I have on YouTube. Right now, if you don't count the YouTube shorts, it's over 800 videos on my channel. I've been putting out content on that particular YouTube channel since August 5th of 2008. So that's 14 years of a couple of weeks ago or whatever. So everything you need to know is on that channel for free. Like, you go to YouTube and do a search for Flip Man and, just dive in. It's all there. You'll see tons of people that have taken advantage of that information over the years. A lot of times, man, I get DM, text messaging text messages, people just saying thank you, and I've never talked to them before.
Yeah.
And just send a picture of a check.
And that's
or
what I'm
whatever.
saying.
Yeah,
It's-
you know what I'm
it's
saying?
crazy, man.
So,
you know, and a lot of people out there can maybe think, you know, he probably just talking. And some people out there know this real, you know, but it ain't really. You don't really feel it until it happened to you. Once it happened to you, then you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely real. Definitely real.
oh yeah, man. But you know, it takes action. I'm not saying it's easy by no means, but it is an opportunity that most people can capture if they really want to do it. But it first starts with educating yourself. If you don't have the patience to educate yourself, you might as well do something else.
Yeah.
Because real estate in general takes patience. But you're talking to large sums of life-changing money for most people. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's not the only way to make money, but for somebody that got no money, it's one of the best things going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Before you get ready to get up out of here, I just want to ask you another question.
Yeah.
As far as your style, what type of properties do you like, or do you attack?
Well, you know, we're still doing houses, man, but we're having a strong push towards some commercial stuff, self-storage, and one particular type of property that we're really going hard at is like your former Kmart's, you know, your vacant Walmarts, you know, large properties like that with the big box, but they have a lot of parking. So we have some plans for stuff like that or whatever. So that's the next level. That's what you can make life-changing money in houses, but you know, that's where you get like wealthy in the commercial stuff. I'm saying it could be just a couple of deals, you know, and just set you up for life on those, so or whatever. You know, that's where I'm trying to go now.
Cool, man. Man, we appreciate you coming through, man. Also, too, for all our followers out there and our supporters, don't forget Hunter and Broja. Don't forget your plant-based protein. Now, this plant-based protein is real special. The flavor on it is imaginable. I'm talking about you think you tasting candy, but it's real deal plant-based. You know what I'm saying? Organic flavor. Everything in it is help you to embrace, like you don't feel sluggish afterwards. You know, some protein powders, they have you feeling sluggish, head hurt. You know, you don't feel like yourself after about 3 hours after taking it. But this have you filled up like, you know, meal replacement all day long. Also, too,